Timberwolves are about to go on a very intriguing West Coast road trip. The next 4 or 5 games are against some other contenders. Really crucial stretch of the season now as they fight for seeding. We will get into that. We'll talk about Kyle Anderson, and we'll talk about the Saturday. Let's start with the Saturday game here. I'll introduce the show. We'll talk about what some people might have thought was a letdown. I'm not sure it was an emotional or physical letdown. I think sometimes you just play badly. Let's get into all of it with Jon Krawczynski here on the Jon Krawczynski Show. He, of course, is Jon Krawczynski from The Athletic. This is TalkNorth.com. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio. We're presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. We'll tell you about our other sponsors later. We appreciate our sponsors and all of our listeners and viewers for making all this possible. You can see this show on YouTube as well as listen to it however you listen to your favorite podcasts. So, John, Saturday, I don't think that was a physical, we don't care letdown. I thought it was a kind of a conspiracy of a few different things. You were there. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Ant was so hot early, I thought everybody else kind of stood around and started watching him because he was dominating so early. They jumped out to an early lead. Sometimes it feels too easy early in a basketball game. You forget how hard it is to beat a quality NBA team. And this team isn't particularly good in day games. I will say that. But I didn't think they didn't play hard. I just thought they didn't play well.
Yes, Jim, I agree with Chris Finch. He said the same thing, basically. And there have certainly been games this season where the Wolves have not played hard. They have not put in the requisite effort. They have taken their opponent lightly, like all of those things. And that's very frustrating to watch. And we've seen it multiple times this year where that has been the case. But I think that this time around, it was definitely more a product of how they were playing in terms of just execution. I mean, when you look at Dante DiVincenzo, Ayo Dosunmu, Jaden McDaniels going to combine 1 for 21 from the field, like you're just not going to win many games when that is happening. And so it is a bit of a make or miss league. And then I do think that once the shots were not falling to the incredible degree that they were not falling, that did impact their defense a little bit. And they were allowing Desmond Bane dribble penetration that they shouldn't have. And they were kind of not getting back on defense in transition the way they should have. And so, team wins 5 in a row. They've been playing really, really well. You kind of are inclined to say, hey, this was just a bad game. Now, we will see. I think it is important now that they follow up on starting in LA on Tuesday with really a couple of sharp games. And this is a very big road trip for them to get back in the win column, to play well, and to remain kind of in that 4th spot, 3rd spot, try and jockey for that. But that to me just felt like one game where like, geez, these guys cannot make a shot to save their lives, and it's trickling down to everything else.
They also got very frustrated with the officiating. That isn't all. It's not a constant problem with this team, but I thought it was a problem on Saturday.
Yeah, and I was really interested to hear Rudy Gobert basically say that. Like he said afterward, he said, starting with himself, he thought that they got a little caught up in how the game was being called. I will say, just watching the game, it was a horribly officiated game, but I think that, the Magic had as many gripes as the Timberwolves did. There was just like, I couldn't figure out how they were calling some fouls and not calling others, and missing calls and this and that. So it was not a cleanly called game, but that was one of the first times that I have heard, a Timberwolves player really acknowledge that, hey, this was on us. Like, we've got to just maintain our focus. I mean, a lot of times Ant or a few of the other guys will say, yeah, I can't be doing that, but you don't believe him. You don't really think that he's genuine in kind of the mea culpa. But this one was Rudy Gobert saying, look, we got too caught up in this. And I think that, yeah, in general, Jim, you're right. Like it's not a team that is overwhelmingly whiny, but if you look at Edwards, you look at Naz Reid, and I do think Rudy Gobert in that game in particular, a lot of times, he was getting hit in the head and stuff, and he would look back for the call and be slow getting back up the court. And then they're out of position defensively. And then the Magic have them where they want them. And so I guess I did appreciate that Rudy just acknowledged it and said, these games are too important. We cannot be letting the officiating get in the way of our sort of focus and our attention to detail. And they did let that happen in the Magic game. And, going forward, they are going, guess what, guys? Like, they're going to see other games where it's not called well. It's just an inevitability. And so their ability to keep their focus and keep their attention and not let that get them out of sorts is going to be crucial down the stretch here.
And Ant had kind of a cryptic comment. I know what was wrong, but I don't want to talk about it. I assume that's him saying that it was refereeing and he didn't want to get himself in trouble.
Yes, I think that's the case. He got into foul trouble in the second quarter, and so he had to go to the bench early because he picked up 3 quick ones, and that definitely took him out of his rhythm as well, because he was looking, he brought the flamethrower out in the first quarter and was just really rolling. And so I think he was frustrated by that, because he was probably on his way to 45 points if that didn't get in the way. That said, Jim, I mean, most of the calls on Ant, I think, were legitimate. Like, he was reaching, he had a couple of take fouls that were take fouls. And so, I can understand, again, like there certainly were calls that you look at, or calls that he didn't get going to the basket, I think probably were at the front of his mind. But that's really not why they lost the game. They lost the game because 3 of their guys could not make a shot, quite literally, and then their defensive breakdowns on the perimeter were just too much for them to overcome.
Let's get a little deeper into the arrival of Kyle Anderson, how he's being used, how he's playing. I have to admit, I wasn't sitting around thinking, oh, they should go get Kyle Anderson and make him their 9th man, and that'll settle everything down. And that was not at the forefront of my mind. And then they made the deal, and I went, okay, that makes sense. So now that he's here, what's it look like and what does it mean?
Yeah, and an interesting kind of note off of that, Kyle did not play in the Saturday game because of some knee soreness. I think it's minor, so I think you'll see him back on, out in LA, but not having that presence out there, did that affect things a little bit? It may have, just in terms of their mentality, but, getting him back in the fold, it was really interesting because I think Anthony Edwards was the biggest one last week after his first game in a Wolves uniform. Ant just talked about, okay, we've got Mike back, we've got Kyle here, and it just feels right. And so what that tells me is, like, even though Kyle was not here, last season, there was certainly something missing in the locker room for on the level of a just straight talking guy that everyone trusts and believes is in it for the right reasons. And he has the uncanny ability to just walk right up to anyone, look them right in the eyes and say, hey, you're messing up here. This is what we need from you. Lock in. And rather than be alienated, rather than have their feelings hurt, generally speaking, all of these guys say, you know what, you're right. Okay, I've got to refocus and get in. And so he brings that element to the table and is just welcomed back so warmly because of that. That I knew he was impactful when he was here, but you just kind of forgot about it a little bit now that he's back. You can tell that Ant, Jaden, Nas, like all of these guys really respect Kyle Anderson, and that's a big thing. But then kind of where his role deviates from what Mike Conley is now anymore is that Kyle is still going to play a significant amount of minutes, and he is a ball handler that can help take pressure off of Anthony Edwards. He is a versatile defender that can really, I think, address a lot of the weaknesses when Rudy Gobert is off the floor and it's just Naz Reid and Julius Randle. Kyle Anderson can also play with Rudy because he's a guy that really knows how to get him the ball on offense and kind of how to play off of him defensively. And so, it's just a vibe that you feel in that locker room around the team. And they're all just kind of like, Kyle's back, and it's just that kind of palpable sort of relief and belief in him that I think is really sort of undervalued or underappreciated when you're talking about him, because he hasn't done much in the last 2 years since he's been gone, um, on teams that either did not value him the way that Chris Finch does, or that were just going into rebuilds like Utah. And so now that he is here again, I think he also feels a little bit galvanized, because he knows that this is the team and the coaching staff that trusted and believed in him as a player, probably more than any other team in his career. And so I think you put those two things together. This team needs Kyle and Kyle needs this team. I think that's a pretty good mix to get as much out of him as you can possibly get.
Agreed. All right, let's move on to some other topics. Maybe we'll talk a little more Kyle Anderson on the way here. Let's first of all remind you that we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
When your furnace, air conditioner, or thermostat isn't working right, you need a local team you can trust. Whether your home won't heat up, won't cool down, or your air quality is a concern, your home comfort team at Aquarius Home Services finds the problem fast and fixes it right. And you get $98 off any furnace or AC repair when you book with Aquarius today. Aquarius Home Services. One call, problem solved. Earning the right to be recommended. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com.
And the Jon Krawczynski Show is presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
So how important is this road trip? Road trip with the addition of some other meaningful games when they come back.
Yeah, I mean, like the most compelling part of this finishing kick for the Timberwolves is that they have one of the tougher schedules that's left out there. There's not too many cupcakes left. There's not too many games against tanking teams, games that you figure are gimmies on the schedule. And so that it could be a good or a bad thing, because it could be a bad thing. You want as many easy ones as possible. But as you know, and as everyone who's listening to the show knows, that easy is never a good thing for the Timberwolves. They just don't play well. They muddle through. They are more angst-ridden games against the teams at the bottom of the standings than there are, against teams near the top. And so this 4-game stretch, Lakers on Tuesday, Clippers on Wednesday, Warriors on Friday, and Thunder on Sunday. It's very important for them because they will have to be locked in. And so I think that's a good thing. But we're also looking at, a team that just every game matters right now. They are jam-packed in the standings. Let's see here. Right now, today, as we're recording this on Monday morning, they're in 3rd place. They're a half a game ahead of Houston. The Lakers are right behind them. Denver is right behind them. Phoenix is a few games back in 7th, but I think you really want to get that 3rd seed if possible, because that would mean that you could avoid Oklahoma City in the 2nd round and go all the way to the Western Conference Finals if you could beat San Antonio before you face the Thunder. And so these are all really meaningful, important games, and I think that not only to win, but also just to kind of start to play really good basketball, getting into the playoffs. They had won 5 in a row previous to the loss against the Magic, but some of those wins were really unsatisfying. And so you want to start to build momentum. And if they could somehow go 3-1 on this road trip, that would be a real statement, and I think a real confidence builder for this group that they are finding their groove when they need to find it here.
By the way, an aside, our friend Patrick Royce wrote a column recently asking, why is it the Timberwolves are like the only team that we question the effort of? If you agree with that premise, and you don't have to, why would that be?
Well, I mean, how deep we want to go here, because
your choice.
Certainly. So let's start on the face. Absolutely, the NBA's tanking issue and the kind of dynamics of the regular season does breed a certain level of belief in fans, sometimes rightfully so, that, you know what? Every team doesn't give its all every single night. Like you see it, players resting, teams trying to lose on purpose. Like those are bad looks for the organizations, and oftentimes the players bear the brunt of the blame because they're the ones either out there or sitting on the bench, when sometimes those are organizational decisions that dictate what, who is playing and how they're playing. But either way, there is certainly some viable criticism of the regular season in the NBA. It's too long. There are too many nights where players are taking the night off, either literally or figuratively, and there's real kind of frustration with that, and I understand that. But I mean, generally speaking, I feel like a lot of that criticism comes from people who are not watching the games, people who are not invested in it, people who are looking at the color of their skin versus the hockey players versus, football players. You just can't play. The season is too short. There is no way to not play hard every week. There's no tanking, really. I mean, there's a little bit, but
every once in a while,
but very little. But a lot of it can be, a white or black issue, honestly, with some of this, and that is really unfair. And a lot of the people that are levying that criticism are doing it not watching the games closely at all, and instead of just looking who is playing these games versus who is playing the hockey games, and that's how it goes. So some of that I do wipe away as just nonsense and disingenuous criticism, because, like, I will say, I've covered this game for 25 years. Generally speaking, night in and night out, the effort on the floor and the physical toll that it takes on players in this game right now is as high as it's ever been. It's just like the way the game is played, how wide open it is, how up and down it is. These players do go through a lot, and we see it with the injuries and all of those things. But I would be totally disingenuous if I didn't say that, yeah, there are nights where any team either sitting stars or just comes out really flat and doesn't look interested, and you're like, there's no justifying that. It's just like, that's just the way that it is in the league sometimes. So most of it is of the onerous type of analysis you just don't even want to entertain. But there are some little nuggets in there that are like, yeah, there are issues that the league has with the regular season that do reflect poorly on the players, and sometimes it's very unfair to the players because they're not the ones making the decisions on load management and tanking and those types of things.
I'll add two things. Number one is, I think sometimes it's also a misunderstanding of the talent level in the NBA. Mm-hmm. You'll see a guy sprint from the paint out to the three-point line, leap 18 feet in the air, almost block a shot. The guy will make a difficult contested 25-foot three-point shot, and somebody in the stands is going to go, God, why don't they play in defense? Uh-huh. Well, yeah, the guy did everything he possibly could. The skill level's so high that if you're a fraction late, or you can do everything right defensively and the other team's going to score, that's not bad defense. Uh-huh. And because generally the casual fan relates scoring to bad defense. In the NBA, you can play great defense and the other team can score 125. It's the way it is. The league is incredibly talented. The other thing is, having covered a lot of hockey over the years, NBA players will come in and say, yeah, we tried hard, we just didn't hit our shots, and that's not a satisfactory answer. Hockey players will come in when they lose and say, we didn't play hard enough. Hockey players will tell on themselves, we didn't play hard enough. We got to play with more effort. We didn't get the corners. We didn't get greasy goals. We didn't play physically enough. They will say out front, they will admit that they didn't play hard enough, and nobody in the fan base says they didn't play hard enough.
Well, that's a huge point. That's great. And the other part about it is hockey is easier. It's a lot easier in the NBA to get blown out and look bad, right? Because if the shots aren't falling, like the Wolves on Saturday, shots aren't falling, the Magic are rolling, all of a sudden you're down 20 at home, and it looks really bad because of the nature of scoring in the NBA. In hockey, it's hard to get blown out on a nightly basis. Like, just the nature of the game is these games are 4-2, these games are 3-1. It's just like that's the way that it is. And so even in the games where like you said, even in the games where a hockey team will say, yeah, you know what, we didn't have it. We got to play harder. We didn't. They probably lost that game, 4-3 or 2-1. And so while frustrating for a Wild fan or whoever to watch that game, it's not the same as watching the Wolves versus the Magic, where, my gosh, they're down 25 points in the fourth quarter. And it's really just a product of a couple of possessions go the wrong way. The Magic hit a couple of threes and all of a sudden you're buried. And so the nature of the game is that there are big swings back and forth. And just looking at the score, you can look at it and be like, man, this was awful. Whereas a hockey team can play terribly and they can just kind of scrounge it out and lose 3-2 or 2-1, and it just doesn't look as bad. The optics of it aren't as bad. And so it colors the way that you look at how that team, won or lost the game.
Right. Good stuff. I appreciate you getting into that with me. Let's talk about Julius Randle next. First, though, tell us about True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com to set up your free consultation. If you're watching this on our YouTube show, you see that I do not have glasses on. I wore them for a very, very long time. When I was younger, I would wear contacts and glasses. As I got older, I just said, I don't want to deal with the hassles of putting contacts in my eyes every day. So I'm just going to wear the glasses. Those are easier, but those were a hassle in and of themselves as well. You had to get new prescriptions every year or two. You had to make sure your glasses actually looked up to style and everything. You didn't fall behind that way. Now I have LASIK surgery. I don't have to worry about any of that. I'm going to be traveling to Los Angeles this week. I have no contact solution to deal with. I have no glasses to worry about. I just get up in the morning and I'm seeing great, and I go to bed at night and I wake up the next morning and I see great. So you go to truevision.com, set up your consultation. They will take you through all the steps that you need to get the right vision correction for you. And if it is LASIK like I had, Dr. Chu will take care of you. You are in and out of there in just minutes, literally. And then you are on the way to just seeing absolutely clearly. And it's been almost 2 years now, and it's been the best thing I've done for myself in a very long time. So go to truevision.com, set up your consultation, then go down to see the good folks at True Vision in Bloomington, and just get on with living your life. It's the best thing you'll do for yourself. I promise you. Go to truevision.com.
The Jon Krawczynski Show has had a lot of great local loyal sponsors, and it all started with TSR Injury Law, 612 TSR Time. These are people we trust, people we've hung out with, people you see at the Timberwolves games. They're open, they're friendly, they do a really good job. If you're ever in need of an injury lawyer, call 612 TSR Time, 612 TSR Time. They will take good care of you. They will not charge you unless they win your case, and they win lots of cases. That's why they're so popular. TSR Injury Law, 612 TSR Time. Tell us about the live gig we have coming up at Head Flyer Brewing.
March 27th at Head Flyer Brewing is sort of of a going away party, sadly, Jim. I mean, we've had amazing shows at Head Flyer Brewing over the years. Head Flyer has been an unbelievable partner for us, but also just an unbelievable member of the community. They are closing their tap room coming up here, and so we're going to send them off on a high note. Friday, March 27th, 7 p.m. at Head Flyer Brewing. We will announce guests. We will announce prizes as we get a little bit closer to the event, but just mark it on your calendar. If you've been to one of these shows, you know that we always have just amazing guests. We have unbelievable conversations. We have great interaction with the listeners and the attendees, and we give away tickets and other cool things. And so this is a way to come out and say thank you to Head Flyer for everything they've done for us and for this community over the years, and also to celebrate kind of the Wolves getting ready for the playoffs as well. So March 27th, 7 p.m. at Head Flyer. Jim and myself will be there, and we will announce other guests as we get a little bit closer to the show, and look forward to seeing you all there.
So Julius Randle was having a great year. Then he had a bit of a lull. Then he got mad about the All-Star selection. Then he had a great game right before the break. And I think a lot of us thought, okay, he's going to get rolling like he did last year. Doesn't quite look right. I know he's had some ailments. How do you assess his game right now? What are the hopes for the next month or so?
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch him, because even in a few of the games after the break where he wasn't scoring at a high level, I did like the energy and activity he was given defensively, which had not been there. And so I've kind of been anticipating that he's really going to kind of come out of this funk all the way and become kind of really much closer to the player he was at the start of the season when he was outstanding. And then, that game against the Magic was another one where he just was not kind of all the way there. And so I think one of the things that has changed dramatically since the start of the season is his three-point shot is just not reliable at all. And we never, I don't think, expect Julius to be a 40% three-point shooter, but you do expect him kind of maybe 36%, 35%, somewhere enough that makes taking 4 or 5 a game a smart gambit for him. And man, it's been a long time since he's really been having multiple games where he's shooting it at a high level. And so I think that when he does not have that shot, he does have to work so much harder, with the bully ball. And I do think that it also can sometimes lend itself a little bit more to his ISO heavy game. He puts the ball in his hands and he's dribbling. He's trying to create either for himself or others. And that takes a lot of time off the clock sometimes. And so I think it takes a little bit of the flow away from the offense. Whereas when he's catching and shooting with confidence, it just kind of makes everything pop a little bit more. The ball moves quicker, decisions happen faster, and when he's making that shot, man, that starting five is really almost impossible to deal with. And so, I think that if there is one thing that would be really nice to see start to click in here down the stretch, would be just get back to being a guy who can shoot, mid to high 30% from three. And then that just not only does things for his scoring averages, but also it just, I think, breathes some flow and some life into the offense when that happens. And so I know that he's working on it. He and Chris Hines, the Ant's kind of a player development guy, they work very closely on his shot and trying to kind of get him dialed in. The good news is I have seen more defensive activity and less kind of sluggishness on that end. But if he can start making some more shots, I think you're going to see the dam break on that in a pretty, kind of dramatic fashion. But he's got to start doing it. It's just it has not been consistent for a very long time here.
Is he the biggest variable on this roster?
Probably. I mean, I think Jaden McDaniels has variable too. I mean, he can be just overwhelming on both sides of the floor. And then a game like the Orlando game, he's 0 for 9. He gets into foul trouble, the game previous to that. And you're just like, okay, you almost got nothing from Jaden some of these nights. So it can go up and down, but I think that Randle is a little bit more sort of, he wears his heart on his sleeve, so it's easier to see when it's not going well for him. Like Jaden is stone-faced. Like you don't know, he could throw down a dunk in traffic and he'll have the same expression as when he's 0 for 8. And so you just feel it a little bit more with Julius because when he's smiling, when he is, kind of going downhill and things are working and he's flexing to the crowd and all those things, that is really, I think, buoyant for this team. And then when it isn't going well for him, then you can see the shoulders slump a little bit more. And I think that is a little bit more kind of impactful just on the body language part of things. And so you feel that pendulum swinging a little bit more violently than you do with Jaden. But those two guys both kind of have the high ceiling and a bit of a low floor that they deal with kind of on a game in and game out basis.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. One more segment. I want to get into Chris Finch. I want to get into a major development in the Western Conference that I think we need to address here. First of all, though, tell us about, I'm sorry. Let me thank Royal Credit Union.
At Royal Credit Union, we believe in banking with purpose. That's why we're here for you and your community with people-first service, local support, and all the accounts and loans you need to help reach your financial goals. As a not-for-profit cooperative, everything we do benefits the people and communities we serve, because Royal isn't just where you bank, it's where you belong. Experience the Royal Credit Union difference and learn more at rcu.org/royal support. Insured by NCUA. Loans subject to credit approval. Equal credit opportunity.
And with longtime sponsors, sglambchops.com, sponsor the Twitter question at the end of every show. What's going on with sglambchops.com?
Yeah, Lamb Chops just had an amazing drop at Target Center a week or two ago where they had a new kind of collaboration with the Timberwolves with this really cool kind of trees-inspired black Wolves gear. We're seeing it all over Target Center right now. You can't get that at lambchops.com, but you can get everything else that they have, which is super comfortable, high quality stuff for casual wear, street wear, anything that you could want. Hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, pants, hats, whatever you need. Go to sglambchops.com. Use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything that you get at Lamb Chops. And it's just great stuff from Jordan, Craig, and everyone at Lamb Chops. You can wear it out in the North Loop on a Friday night. You can wear it to Target Center. You can wear it just lounging around at home and remain super comfortable and super stylish. It's really high quality. It's generally, when you look at what you pay for some of this stuff all over the city and the country, it's very affordable and reasonable. So go to lambchops.com, sglambchops.com. Use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything you get at Lamb Chops.
Let's take me inside Chris Finch's brain right now. What's he thinking?
Yeah, I think that in general, Jim, he feels like this team is starting to find its stride. Certainly the Magic game was really disappointing, but I think that it feels great about having Kyle Anderson here. I think that he likes in general how the team has played defensively. I think he feels like there's a little bit more kind of attention to the right process of things to, kind of not get caught up in the numbers game and really start playing a little bit more unselfishly. And so talking to Finch, talking to other people behind the scenes in the front office, like they really believe that they're poised for a really strong finishing kick here. They have to do it. They have to go out there and make it happen. But there certainly have been times this season where the leadership of this group has been either curious or frustrated about what they've seen from the guys, on the court. Just effort-wise, execution-wise, all of that stuff. But right now, there seems to be a level of calm around everyone that, yes, here we go again. This is our calendar. This is the way that we kind of operate, is in March and April. That's when things pick up and when things click in. And everything that they've seen, I think, to this point has indicated to them that they're on that path. And so we have seen Finch just be kind of grouchy at some points this year, and I think rightfully so with how things have gone. But it just talking to him, it feels like there is a little bit more satisfaction with how the guys are playing, and a little bit more trust that these guys are going to be about the right things when it matters the most.
So the Western Conference is still pretty brutal. And yesterday on Sunday, you saw Doncic go off against a very good Knicks team and make just shots that nobody should even be taking, much less making. But then you watch Wemby go absolutely bonkers against a good Rockets team. And I just wonder, it's like, I almost feel, I don't feel bad for him, but I almost feel like the timing isn't perfect for Anthony Edwards in that he is having his best season of a great young career, and he's getting into the MVP conversation. And Wemby just might be the MVP for the next 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, that I do, even last season, and there has been some of it this season, not just with the Timberwolves, but across the league. There is absolutely, when you talk to people, you talk to scouts, coaches, other executives, there is sort of this feeling of we are all racing to get whatever we can get before Wemby is ready to just make it undeniable for however long it goes. He is so overpowering. And so I think like there is a belief that maybe this year still is it a little too soon for the rest of the Spurs, and maybe they aren't quite ready to go to the finals this year, and they'll have to learn, like every other team has done in recorded history. You take your lumps in the playoffs, and you lose in round 1 or round 2, then you come back the next year and you're really ready to go. And so go get it right now, because you may not have another chance. Now, God willing, he stays healthy, and I think that that's the only thing that could get in the way of him dominating this league for a very long time. He has got all of the intangibles. He has got all of the physical and tangible qualities that you want as well. And so when he approaches full form, it's just hard to see what you do to stop it. And so in the interim, even as great as he's looked right now, it's like, man, whoever can go win a championship, do it soon, because you just don't know. And then you throw in Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper and all of the young guys that they have. And that's a team, Fox that well. Looks great. Man. Like, that's a team that just looks like they are loaded for the next several years going forward. And so it's a race against that right now. And it could be, they may be too late already. Maybe the San Antonio Spurs will go out and win this year. It's certainly viable with how they're playing. But man, it just every single night you are looking at that dude and you're saying, this is not real. Like, this is not possible. What can you do to stop it? And you can just hope that the threes don't fall, and you can hope that the other guys are struggling, and that's how you get them. But it's scary right now for sure.
It is. Amazing game from him on Sunday. Amazing season from him. Amazing future. It's great for the league, though. There's never been anybody like him. And sometimes when we say that, it's recency bias. There's just never been anybody like this guy.
No. Like, yeah, this is a complete alien. Like, that's what he is. Like, it was, I can't remember who it was. There was somebody that they were talking about. It was one like really established player, and you're talking about his game and stuff, and like, I'm the best at I'm one of the best two-way players in the league. Well, not Wemby. Wemby is an alien. I'm the best human two-way player in the league, and that's like, that is the standard that is being set now. Much like, Jim, like you hear about the old days in the league where, okay, here's all of the records, and these are all the records that we just toss Wilt aside, like, because Wilt was so dominant, we're not even gonna count him. This is the non-Wilt record, and that's how you measured yourself. And it feels a little bit like this is how we're gonna measure ourselves going forward in this league. Well, aside from Wemby, Rudy's the best
Right.
defensive player in the league. Aside from Wemby, this guy's the best two-way player in the league. Like that's going to be the conversation going forward. Is we're just going to put this complete anomaly out of the conversation just so we can have some kind of debate, because all of these debate shows, Stephen A. Smith is going to have a hard time coming up with any arguments. It feels like soon of just like, well, no, Wemby's the guy. Like that's that's it. And so it's the one thing that is cool is you had all this hype around him, and you see a player who seems so ready for all of it, not only just doing things on the court, but the way that he talks, the way that he conducts himself, the way that he is engaged in the Spurs community with the fans and all that. Man, he's just like, what an ambassador, but also what a frightening specimen that he is right now.
Yes. So entertaining. All right, let's wrap up today's show with the sglambchops.com Twitter question of the week.
Go to sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything that you get at Lamb Chops. This is from regular engager, listener, reader Ashley. What's going on with the KG Wolves relationship? I know they made a big announcement a couple of months ago, but other than a couple of social media videos, we haven't seen much else. Any visits to Minneapolis on the horizon? And it's a great question, Ashley. Everything that we talk about with Garnett related behind the scenes is that the jersey retirement ceremony is going to be next season. Like, I just think that even by the time they kind of got everything lined up with him, towards the end of the 2025 calendar year, it was going to be too much to just schedule a KG night, for the rest of this season. They want to really plan that. They want to make it a big, huge deal, as it deserves to be. But it has been interesting sort of how there hasn't been a whole lot else. Yes, we've seen some social media posts. My gut tells me, Ashley and Wolves Nation, that it would make sense for his first appearance at Target Center to be in the playoffs at some point, to come sit courtside, with A-Rod and Mark Lowry and to kind of, ring in, set the tone for some big game or something like that. But we don't know. We have not heard anything from Kevin Garnett. We have not heard from, I think the franchise is being careful about what they promise with him, just given the nature of how all of this has gone. And so we're all waiting to see more from him, to have a little bit more direct engagement. And I think that is almost entirely on Kevin Garnett, as it always has been. Like, everyone is going to the beat of his drum on this. And when he's ready, he will be here, and not a minute before that. So, but yeah, like, it would feel, I think, a little bit weird, like if it was Wolves Blazers on a Friday night in March, and here's KG. Like, I think he likes dramatics. The Wolves like dramatics. Game 1 of a series, Western Conference Finals, something like that, for him to come out and get crazy with the crowd. I think that makes the most sense, but we don't know. We have not heard anything yet on that front.
And we will keep you updated here on the Jon Krawczynski Show. Great stuff, John. Good conversation. I appreciate it. You can also hear John on the Viking Update Show. We have a lot of fun with that show, and the Vikings are about to make big news this week, so check that out as well. Alec Lewis on the Vikings, Jeff Diamond on the Vikings, Michael Russo on hockey, Mark Rosen's show, Don Mitchell's show, outdoor content, much more sports content that I could list in one quick sentence. Check it all out at talknorth.com. We do appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week.